Hello, and welcome to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm Laurie Lynnsee, and this is a place where spirituality meets science, intuition meets everyday life, and we explore the mysteries that invite us to think a little bit deeper about who we are and how the world works. Today's topic is one that has fascinated millions of people around the world. Have you ever been absolutely certain you remember something correctly, only to discover that reality seems to tell a different story? Maybe you remember the Monopoly man wearing a monocle. Maybe you remember Curious George having a tail. Maybe you remember reading the Berenstain books as a child. And then one day, you discover that apparently the Monopoly man never had a monocle, and Curious George never had a tail. And the books you have always loved were spelled Berenstain Bears. At least that's what we're being told. So what's happening? Are our memories faulty? Are our brains playing tricks on us? Or is there something deeper occurring that we don't understand yet? Today we're exploring one of the most fascinating mysteries of modern culture, the Mandela Effect. And as always, we're going to look at both the scientific explanation and then some of the spiritual theories that have emerged around the phenomenon. If you're new here, my work is about helping midlife women reconnect with their inner wisdom so that they can trust themselves again and move forward with greater clarity, confidence, and peace. Through intuition development, meditation, nervous system regulation, and sound healing, I help women remember that the answers they are searching for are often within them. For more information, I invite you to visit my website. It's in the show notes. So let's dive in. What is the Mandela Effect? The term Mandela Effect was coined by paranormal researcher Fiona Brome, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She noticed that she, and many others, clearly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s. Except he didn't. Mandela was released from prison, became president of South Africa, and lived until 2013. What shocked Brome wasn't that she remembered this incorrectly. It's that thousands of other people remember the exact same thing. And that raises an interesting question. How can large groups of people remember something that never happened? Since then, thousands of examples have surfaced. Some are small, some are surprisingly convincing, and many people are left scratching their heads. So let's look at some examples, and let's review some examples that we've already mentioned. First, we have the Berenstain Bears. Many people remember the Berenstain Bears spelled with an E-I-N at the end of the word. Yet every book in print says Berenstain with an A-I-N. And then there's the Monopoly man. Many people clearly remember him wearing a monocle, but according to the official character design, he never did. And I've already mentioned Curious George. Many people remember the tail, yet apparently he never had one. And then there are movie quotes. Many people remember Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." The actual line is, "No, I am your father." Okay, that one, I'm with them. It's Luke. I'm positive. And you know what? There are dozens of other examples out there. And each example by itself seems insignificant, but together they raise fascinating questions about memory and perception. So let's take a look at what science is saying. One of the most important names in this field is Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist at the University of California, Irvine. For more than 50 years, she has studied how human memory works, and perhaps more importantly, how it sometimes doesn't work in the way we think that it does. Loftus is best known for her research on what psychologists call the misinformation effect. Her studies demonstrate that memories are not stored like files in a file cabinet waiting to be retrieved. Instead, every time we recall a memory, our brain reconstructs it. During that reconstruction process, new information can be added, details can change, and sometimes entirely false memories can emerge. Researchers have repeatedly shown that even subtle wording changes in a question can alter what people remember. In other words, memory is less like watching a recording and more like rebuilding a puzzle each time we remember an event. But the Mandela Effect introduces an even more intriguing question. Why do large groups of people remember the same incorrect detail? That's where newer research enters the conversation. At the University of Chicago, psychologist Dr. Wilma Bainbridge and her team have been studying what they call the visual Mandela Effect. Their research examines famous images and cultural icons such as the Monopoly Man and Curious George and other well-known characters. Surprisingly, they have found that many people consistently remember the same incorrect features. For example, I've already said the monocle on the Monopoly Man. What's fascinating is that these weren't random mistakes. Participants often made the exact same mistake. That suggests that our brains may be using a common mental shortcut when processing information. Researchers believe that when our mind encounters familiar symbols or characters, we often fill in the missing details based on expectations and patterns rather than actual memory. This is called the Schema Theory, the idea that the brain organizes information into a mental framework and sometimes inserts details that seem like they should have been there. So when people remember a monocle on the Monopoly Man, it may be because a monocle fits the mental image we have of a wealthy businessman from that era. Our brains aren't trying to deceive us. They're trying to make sense of a world efficiently. The scientific consensus today is that the Mandela Effect is most likely a fascinating combination of reconstructive memory, shared cultural influences, pattern recognition, and the brain's tendency to fill in missing information. And yet, even with all this research, scientists still find it remarkable that so many people can share the exact same false memory, which is one of the reasons this phenomenon continues to captivate researchers and the public alike. I think one of the reasons people became so fascinated with the Mandela Effect isn't really about logos, books, or movie quotes. It's because it challenges something deeper. It challenges certainty. We want to believe that reality is solid, predictable, reliable. But when something appears to contradict our memory, we suddenly wonder, can I trust what I remember? Can I trust my perception? Can I trust my experience? And those questions touch something much deeper than a child's book title. Now let's step into the spiritual conversation. And I want to be clear, there is currently no scientific evidence proving timeline shifts, alternate realities, or parallel dimensions, and that they are responsible for the Mandela effects. But that hasn't stopped people from exploring those possibilities. Some spiritual thinkers suggest that the Mandela effect may represent small glimpses into alternative timelines. And others wonder whether consciousness itself plays a role in shaping our experiences of reality. Some connect these experiences to quantum theories and the possibility that reality may be more fluid than we currently understand. Still, others see the Mandela effect as symbolic reminders that reality may be far more mysterious than we often assume. And again, these ideas are speculative, but they invite fascinating questions. And throughout history, many discoveries begin as questions before they become answers. If you've listened to my recent podcast on glitches in reality, you'll notice some overlap. Many people report experiences such as objects disappearing and then reappearing later, conversations that seem to have happened before they actually happen, powerful synchronicities, and moments that feel impossible to explain. The Mandela Effect gets grouped into this larger category of experiences that challenge our assumptions about how reality works. Whether our explanations ultimately prove to be neurological, psychological, spiritual, or something we haven't discovered yet, these experiences invite curiosity. And curiosity is often where growth begins. So people ask me, Laurie, what do you think is happening? And my answer is simple. I think we should remain open-minded without abandoning critical thinking. I don't think every mystery needs an immediate explanation. Sometimes the most honest answer is, I don't know, and that's okay. I believe science and spirituality both serve an important purpose. Science helps us understand the mechanism, and spirituality helps us explore the meaning. And when we allow both perspectives to sit at the same table, we often gain a deeper appreciation for the mystery itself. So perhaps the Mandela Effect isn't really about proving alternate timelines. Perhaps it's reminding us of something else, that reality may be more complex than we realize, that perception isn't always perfect, and that curiosity may be a doorway to discovery. The next time you experience a Mandela Effect, instead of rushing to prove or disprove, try simply sitting with the question. What if certainty isn't the goal? What if curiosity is? So thank you for joining me for this episode of the Inner Compass podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who loves exploring the intersection of spirituality and science. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a Mandela Effect? Do you remember something differently than reality seems to show today? Leave a comment below and share your story. Your experience might inspire a future episode. And speaking of future episodes, next week, we're exploring another fascinating question. If our memories aren't always reliable, then how do we know what to trust? We'll be diving into the science of intuition and why your body may know something before your conscious mind does. You won't want to miss it. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Again, what topic would you like me to explore at the intersection of spirituality and science? Again, leave a comment below. Comment. Your question could inspire me to write a new Inner Compass podcast. And if today's episode sparked questions, I would love to continue the conversation with you. Every Tuesday around the noon hour Central Time, I host True North Tuesday live on YouTube and Facebook. And it's an opportunity for us to explore these topics together, answer questions, and have real conversations about spirituality, science, intuition, personal growth, and everything in between. As we move into future episodes and monthly themes, many of the ideas we discussed here on the podcast will continue to unfold during those live conversations. So if you have questions, insight, experiences that you would like to share, or topics you would like me to explore, I invite you to join me each Tuesday, and I'd love to hear your perspective and continue the conversation together. If today's episode resonated with you, one of the best ways you can do to support this is subscribe, share it with someone who might benefit from the conversation. You can also help by sharing this episode on social media. Every share helps this message reach someone who may need to hear it. And if you would like to support the ongoing creation of the Inner Compass podcast and the free resources I share each week, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/Laurie Lynnsee. Your support helps me continually create podcasts, meditations, classes, and content exploring the intersection of spirituality and science. And most importantly, thank you for being here. Your time, your presence, and your willingness to explore these conversations mean more than you know. Until next time, keep listening to your inner compass. Awaken, remember, rise.